There's so much to cover in this parasha. Is running. Yeah. But what we're going to try to do is cover the makot, the plagues. What's behind the plagues? In this week's portion, we're reading about 7 plagues. And next week, we're reading about the last 3 plagues, which is hinted in the name of the parasha, Bo. Bo, Gimatria, Bet, Shtaim, 2, Aleph, 1, 3. What it means, there's only 3 more to go. And you're done, Paro. 3 to go. We're done with Paro. It's a rhyme.
7.
That was the campaign on the election. 3 more to go, and we're done with Paro.
7 you're gonna see.
7 you're gonna see.
Yeah, 7 you're gonna see.
So the question is, why did the Torah go in such great detail to explain the Exodus? What happened, and Moshe comes, and Moshe goes, and he talks to Paro, and 1 plague, and another plague, and a 3rd plague, and there's details upon details upon details. If you look about the entire story of the Exodus, it's about 4 parshiot, right? Because it starts from Shemot, right? It starts telling in Shemot what happens, how they start, working them, right? Putting them into intense labor. Continues with Vayera, which is this week's parasha.
Yeah.
Next week is Bo, is the last 3 makot. And when we finally leave Egypt is Beshalach. So 4 parshiot with a lot of details. So why the Torah explains so much? We see that in the creation of the world, how many psukim are there? Not many. Okay? Vayerev boker yom rishon, vayerev boker yom sheni. It's so on, so on. And you'll notice that, and seemingly not a lot of, even on important things, the Torah doesn't necessarily expand all the time. Where it expands a lot is about the temple. It expands a lot. There's many parashot about the temple, how to create it, and the service, and what they were doing. But clearly, the Torah expands a lot on the Exodus, and we want to ask ourselves a question. Is it because the author was trying to create a dramatic episode and gives us all these details? Well, the Torah is not a movie. And the Torah is not also a historical book, because if it was a historical book, it would be a lousy one, because it misses a lot of pieces of information. For one example that we know is in the very beginning of the Torah, it says that Cain kills Hevel. And they're arguing. They're going, and Vayakum Cain, kills him. Why he killed him? We know from the Midrashim why he killed him.
Jealous.
But the Torah doesn't expand. Just one line, he killed him. That's it. There's a lot of events like that where the Torah even maybe hints to it in a word or a sentence or what it doesn't say. Right? But here, the Torah expands and expands. So we know the Torah is not about telling stories. How do we know? We just show this example when there are good stories to tell. This is the first murder in the world. Why the Torah doesn't expand so much about it? Because the Torah decides what is going to expand on and what is not. So it's not a historical book. So clearly there's a point of why the Torah expands on the Exodus stories. And what does it mean to us? Because these stories, quote unquote, of the Torah, they are what? Eternal. The Torah is forever. It is going to apply to any generation. So even if tomorrow we have flying cars or I don't know what, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be applicable to what is going on in our lives, no matter what generation there is. And also, you can ask the question, second question you can ask is, why did Hashem have 10 plagues? Clearly, the first 9 didn't work out. So what? Hashem failed. Chas v'shalom, he didn't fail.
No.
We could have just done Makat Bechor and we're done with it. Would that be enough miracle? Hashem kills all the firstborns? That's wow. You go like boom, right with the jugular. You kill all of them and Paro says, okay, just go. Right? You could have done that. So also we see that the Torah, Hashem is making a point here by going through the 10 plagues. These 10 plagues have connected to a lot of different things that are 10s, right? Aseret HaSefirot, Aseret Ma'amarot bara Olam, Hashem bara et haolam, 10 sayings, Hashem created the world. There are Aseret Hadib, and so on and so forth. So there's a reason why Hashem creates it in this particular fashion. Also, the Gemara brings, Rabbi Yehuda, we read this on the Haggadah, Haya noten bahem simanim, datzach, adash, ba'achav, which is an acronym of the plagues. Dalet, Zedam, Tzadik, Sephardeim, the frogs, right? Chaf זה הקינים, the lice. Ein זה הרוב, all the animals that came, the wild animal, the beast. Dever, the infestation that the animals have. Shchin, when you had on your skin the whatever boils, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then continues with barad, hail, choshech, the darkness, and then makat bechorot, right? All of the 10 plagues. So what does he add when he gives us this acronym? What are we, little kids? We need to remember. There's only 10 plagues. Who doesn't remember all the 10 plagues? There's very few people who don't remember the 10 plagues. Hopefully none of us don't remember them.
So
but if you don't, study them. Okay, we dip in the cup, read it in the Agadah, etc. We know this. So what is he doing? He shows us that there's 3 types of plagues.
Kind of groupings.
He groups them into 3 different groups
Yeah.
to show what they mean. That the dam tzvardenkinim, that the blood, the frogs, and the lice, they happen where? On the surface, or underneath the surface. Okay? That the ein dalet shin, which is arov dever shchin, the beast, the wild beast, the boils, etc., all of that, that they're on the surface. Okay? And that's on all of the beings that are walking on the surface, whether they're animals or humans. Okay? And the last 3, which is barad, hail, arbe, the locust, and choshech, darkness, and makat bechorot, they are what?
Up.
They're up. They're in the sky. They're in the air. They're above the ground. To show you what? That Hashem controls what? All parts of creation.
Everything.
That there are those who say, no, Hashem created the world, but he can only do this and this. He can't do this and that. No, Hashem can do everything. How do we know that? We say this. Hashem melech, Hashem malach, umalchuto bakol mashala. And in kingdom reigns upon everything.
Rules it all.
Bakol. We read this every morning.
All of it. Yeah.
Hopefully every morning, yeah. We don't miss out at tefillah. So we know this, but Hashem wanted to prove it also for us of little faith. We know there are different types of Jews in Am Yisrael. Some who are more believers, less believers, etc. But also to the Goyim. The Goyim say, they're the God of fertility, and the God of this, and the God of this, and the God of that. No. Hashem says, I am the God, I'm the only God of all gods, and I control everything, wherever you like. Underneath, above the ground, in the sky, small things, big things, right? Lice are small. He controls them. When the Khartoumim tried to do exactly the same thing, they weren't able to, so they said, Paro, Yad Elokim Hi. We cannot do this. They were able to create the blood, by the way. Mm-hmm. They were able to create the blood.
They couldn't do the lice.
But they couldn't do the lice. That was above their ability because they couldn't control small things. Okay? So he shows us that is one of the reasons Hashem has 10 makot, 10 plagues, is to show his full control over nature. That there's nothing he does not control. He controls everything. Machuto bakol mashalam. Why is that? Paro says, he says 2 things. Notice that when Moshe comes to Paro and he says, let my people go, and he tells them, Mi Hashem lo yadati it Hashem.
Ooh.
First of all, who is this? And I don't know him. So Hashem says, you don't know me? Let me show you I am. It's kind of like the contrary. It's not an ego thing, right? But it's kind of like when somebody says something to somebody says, and they tell you, you know who I am? You know who you're talking to? You know who I am? Let me show you. And sometimes when you realize who that person is, you regret saying what you're saying because you realize this guy can bear you, literally, financially, whatever. He's got all those powers, right? So you don't know who you're dealing with. So Paro literally didn't know who he dealing with. So Hashem says, no problem. I'll show you some of my capabilities. It's not to punish him. It's to show him. You asked, let me show you.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, this is my opinion, and maybe other opinion too, but I think Paro knows who Hashem is, but he thinks he can outsmart him.
Maybe.
That's how Russia he is. Okay?
That's a possibility.
Right.
But based on the verse, that's what he said.
Okay.
Hashem says, okay, I'll show you.
Right.
Because he says what? שהוא כפר בהוויה, that Paro kafar, he was didn't believe, I guess, in Hashem,
He's a scoffer.
and he didn't believe that he runs all parts of creation. So therefore Hashem showed him that he runs all parts of creation. The first one, the dam, the blood,
Yeah.
that, you don't know who I am? That's the first son. Hey, that's who I am. See, I control this. So, okay, so now he understands that Hashem has powers. But he still doesn't realize to what extent the powers go to. And that's why he continues. In the first place, and that's why he says, the pasuk says, Bezot teda, Hashem says, Bezot teda, ki ani Hashem. With this you will know that I am God, I am Hashem. Means, Hashem showed him that I am Hashem underneath the surface. But this is an answer to what Paro says, Lo yadati Hashem. So now you know. He says, okay, now you know. You don't have any excuse anymore. On the first plague of Adash, which is the second grouping, right, which is Arov, he shows them, what does the Torah says? Ketiv lema'an tedan, for you shall know that I am Hashem bekerev haaretz, because I am God, the God your Lord, on this land. Right? And then also on the first plague of the third grouping, which is what? That's the barad, the hail. And what's the Torah says? Ba'avur teda, ki en kamoni bekol haaretz. So each of the first plagues of the groupings, there are three groups, is a direct answer to Paro, I am Hashem. Now you know who I am. So you know who I am now? Okay, good. I'm glad we straightened this out. And then it continues. And also, we also find the Midrash that the plagues are divided in three parts. Three are done by Aharon. Who does the dam? Aharon. Why? Because Moshe didn't want to hit the Nile. Why?
You got benefit.
He got saved by the Nile. He didn't want to show, he didn't want to be kfui tova. He didn't want to be grateful. So Aharon did it. Who did the frogs? Also Aharon. Because it came from the Nile, same idea. And then the other plague that Aharon did is, I think with the
boils.
Not the boils. I think the hail. I have to look at the psukim. But those are two for sure he did. The other three were done by Moshe, and three were done by Kadosh Baruch Hu, and one was done by all of them. So dam tzvardea vekinim shayu ba'aretz, the blood, the frog, and the lice that were on the surface, underneath the surface, were done by Aharon. Barad, arbe v'choshech, the hail, the locust, and the darkness was done by Moshe, because they are in the air. Because this way Moshe controls the land and the air. Okay? And Arov, Dever, Makat Bechorot, the wild beasts, the disease that the animals had. I don't know what to translate. Dever is
epidemic.
It's the epidemic that the animals had. Remember, the animals started to die, right? So it's different than Arov. Arov is when all the beasts came and kind of attacked all the people, and then the beasts themselves got sick later on. Not the wild beasts, but their cattle and all that other stuff. And then Makat Bechorot, that's the firstborn child. That's Hashem, of course, did. In Shchin al yedei kulam, in Shchin, the boils, they all did it together. If you look at the pasuk, it says that they all did it together. And it says, the pasuk says, and you should take the staff and hit the water. That's what Aaron did. And then the same thing with Tzfardea, and the same thing with the Kinim. He tells them to take the staff and hit the land or the Nile or whatever that is. And with Moshe, he tells them, take your staff and hit the sky. When he hits the sky, the hail starts coming. When he hits the sky, all this other plagues that he was doing. So there's the distribution of the plagues is all planned to show complete creation in all parts of earth, in all things, different things in earth. So whether it's also on the animals, notice that he controls the animals themselves that are underneath the ground, the animals that are on the ground, right? So the animals underneath the ground, those are the frogs. On the ground, those are the wild beasts. And in the air, those are the locusts. So he
Yeah.
controls all the animals. He controls also all of the natural problems, like the blood, the flood of the blood, if you want to call it. He controls that. And then he controls what? The hail, right? And then he controls the locust, which is also a natural disaster. And nowadays, if it would happen, it would be a natural disaster. And also, we can understand that these three groups also symbolizes three levels of emunah.
True.
What does those three levels? There's emunat hamoach. That's when you understand in your brain, with your intellect. Oh yeah, of course, somebody had to create this world because somebody created this room, so somebody created this world. You can understand it from logic. The second level is emunat halev, that you believe in your heart. Hashem says, ve'adata hayom. Hashem says, the pasuk says, ve'adata hayom, and you shall know. Knowing is in your intellect, but then it says, ve'ashavota el levavecha. And you bring it back to your heart. Why? Because Hashem wants to worship Him with your heart. The Torah is supposed to create a heart for you. What does Hashem say in Mashiach times, right? He says that He will replace our heart of stones with a heart of flesh. What does that mean? Our heart is flesh. Yeah, it's a figurative speech. It means that we're hardened today. Okay? We don't necessarily feel the burden of others and the suffering of others and their suffering and burden and poverty and sickness all around us. We don't feel that. Hashem says, I want you to feel it. The Torah is an emotional thing, right? And then the last level is emunat ha'evarim, that you have emunah of the organs. A example would be, one of the most amazing examples in the entire Torah is when Avraham comes to slaughter Yitzchak. What does the pasuk say? Vaishlach et yado, and he sent his hand. Do you tell your hand, please go forward and bring me this thing? Or you just grab it? Does your hand has a choice?
He had to send it.
I have no choice. If I want to take this now, my hands have a choice. You just doesn't say, like, I'm not doing this, I'm doing... What are you arguing with your hand? But he was at such a level that he couldn't have done something without his organ accepting it.
Wow.
Now, in his intellect, he may have not gotten it, but his hand, he was able to tell his hand, look, I may not get it, but you're going to do this. That's why it says, Vaishlach et yado el ha'ma'achelet, to the knife, to do what? Lishchot et beno, to butcher, to kill his son, right? That's one example. There are other examples in the Torah. That's the ultimate level of emunah, is we say that also in Shabbat, Kal atzmotai tomarna, we read this on Shabbat, Kal atzmotai tomarna, that all of my bones shall say. Right? We say that, right? So those are three levels. That at first is in your, like it says, he explains that you understand this with your intellect, with your brain. Okay, that you can understand. Okay, you're smart, you get it, there's Hashem. Then the second level is that you feel it with your emotion, right? And then the third level, like we mentioned, is that your entire body organs understand that they understand, they can feel what Hashem wants. And the shlemut ha'emunah, and when you have a complete emunah, is what? Is that at all levels, you understand that there's nothing but Hashem. And od milevado. The Gemara brings, when it talks about Yemei Mashiach, it talks about different simanim, different signs that it will be. It says that it will be expensive times, and that things are going to be expensive even though that they're plentiful, that there's going to be a lot of chutzpah, a lot of brazenness, that people will talk, and you see this, like young kids today, they talk to old people like they're nothing, there's no respect anymore. And if I was at that time, I would get slapped by my parents about even looking in the wrong way. And my dad, he would get beaten for making too much noise in the house if his dad was sleeping. I mean, those are different times, obviously.
Doesn't happen.
Today, I want to tell you something that's amazing. One of my friends, her kid was driving her insane, and so he was running to the street, and she yelled at him, and she screamed at him because you panic, and she gave him a little slap. This other lady saw her, followed her to the house and called the cops. And the cops showed up and interrogated this woman, and she realized they're normal family, and they left. This is how crazy it is. Okay, kids nowadays, you tell them something, I don't do this, say child abuse. You know what child abuse is, man? You're not getting your iPhone, that ain't child abuse. You're not getting this app that costs $4.99, that's not child abuse. Child abuse, you getting beat with a belt, not even, maybe. That's child abuse, I guess. Back then they wouldn't say anything about that. It was like, comes with a deal. You did something, you pay for your mistakes, right?
Well, we had
So
the movie of the previous.
So we're gonna get to a point, and why am I telling you all of this? There's different simanim, and one of the simanim is that the troubles are gonna be so great, and also from external enemies that will come upon us, that we will say, we will understand that there's no one we can lean on other than Hashem, and we would say, En od milavado. Nothing but him. No one can save him but Hashem.
Right.
But Am Yisrael, who knows Am Kshaoref, that it needs to suffer a lot and get beaten a lot before it realizes, okay, I got it. Okay, if you notice the history, right? You'll notice the history. Adam HaRishon, everything is great, everything is good, he decides to do what he does, bam, missed opportunity. Okay, they're building the nation, there's no Jews yet, they have the opportunity to correct what Adam HaRishon did. What they do, they get worse than that, they do all these averot with arayot, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and Hashem does what? The flood, to correct this. Okay, let's start over again. Noach starts good, but then as he comes off the boat, he gets drunk, his son does what it does, etc. Boom. Again, we have to build it again. And then also, we go to Egypt. We come out of Egypt, receive the Torah. Boom, they fall again with the golden calf. Okay, we go back to the land of Israel. We build the land. We build a temple. And then guess what? They decided they're not going to do Shemitah. What? They don't want to do it. They want to do this. They don't want to do this. They want to do this. Hashem says, okay, Chalas must speak. Destruction of the temple, exile. Okay, another chance. Okay, and until today, we haven't fixed the last one.
No.
We haven't fixed the last one. Till today. Because the Gemara says, every generation the temple is not built as if it was destructed in your time. So we're all guilty of the destruction. When you tell that to somebody, says, how am I guilty? Man, it happened 2,000 years ago. Well, if you follow this Gemara, and you believe in the Gemara and all this Farim, yeah, you are responsible for it because it's still destroyed. It is destroyed. What you see, the Kotel, is a ruin. Is part of the ruin. We go there and we get excited and we get emotional. Oh my God, it's the Kotel. I understand because you feel the presence. But still, when you think about it, it's a ruin. How can you be happy with a ruin? It's twisted. We twisted it. We're like, oh, it's the Kotel. Oh my God, it's the Western Wall. Oh, okay. It's a ruin. And when you see also right on top of you that stupid dome, you're like, how does that not drive you insane? It drives me insane. It's like why? I mean, when we won the war there, we should have just
knocked it
blown it up and said, hey, some crazy soldier did this, man. I'm so sorry, What are we going to do? What are they going to do? Go to war? We just finished one.
Under there is
That's the time. That's the time. Anyways.
Yeah.
So that's part of the thing, is that we get to that level that we completely understand, intellect, heart, and organs, that there's nothing but Hashem. And oftentimes I have these conversations all the time. People say, well, you gotta, I gotta get this diploma. I talk to people all the time. I gotta get this degree or diploma so I can get a better job, so I can do this, so I can be more marketable, so I can be like, okay, listen, you can do all that. I'm not telling you to do that. But realize that how much money you're gonna make is dependent on Hashem's decision. That's it. Pretty much. That's it. No, but I don't mevin. You don't understand. In my line of business. I was like, no. I understand. But without Hashem, it doesn't work. So, and I give you an example. A lot of people got diplomas, and where are they? I know people in my organization that have all sorts of whatever degrees. I met a guy. There was a guy at my house who was a guest in my house. He's a PhD. He's like the chief scientist of this defense, one of the largest defense companies in Israel, and one of the largest, I guess in the world, I guess. And the guy's an amazing, smart PhD, whatever. Okay. he doesn't know how to market himself, and he asked my wife to help him with his resume. So my wife looked at the resume, she says, and she told me, you can't believe it. It's atrocious. It's this, that. And I said, honey, you have to realize, this guy, what he has in his brain, you and I probably live 5,000 years, we're not going to understand what he understands. He builds missiles. He builds like all this crazy stuff. That's how complicated that is? She asked him, because he asked her for help because he told he wasn't happy with the salary he's getting paid. He believes he's underpaid. So she told him, my wife is an HR, she says, listen, I don't know your field, but I can tell you how to do the research and figure out what you're worth. And then I told my wife, you see, this guy has his PhD, knows how to build rockets, missiles, and whatever, blah, 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 blah. I barely know how to do taxes, but I still make more money than him. Now, I'm not trying to glorify myself here, it's just to show an example. You can be super smart, 100 times probably smarter than me, but I get more blessing. Why? I don't know. Ask Hashem. I don't know why. So it has nothing to do necessarily with the actions you take. You can take the actions. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you don't do your hishtadlut. But the decision of what will happen is only Hashem. That's emunah. So when probably somebody tells you, no, but I got to do this, and I got to open my store extended hours, and I understand all that business talk. But believe me, you can do all of those things, and you won't achieve success. So what people mistakenly think is when they see studies, whether it's about business or whatever, and the studies show that on average, if you have a certain level of education, you make more money. That is true. But it doesn't mean that if you will do this, you will necessarily be one of that statistics. There's no guarantee that. There's no guarantee of that. So when people argue, no, you don't understand. No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I understand statistics. I understand business. I understand all of that kind of stuff. But it's ultimately decided, Hashem decides that. And part of it is your fate, right?
Sure.